Top 10 bosses of all time from any game. I tried to include a lot of genres here, but ultimately certain types of games lend themselves to creating better bosses that leave a lasting impact than others. Additionally, I'm only going to be putting a maximum of one boss from each game on this list, otherwise I feel like I would end up with a bunch of bosses from like 3 games. Also, if it wasn't painstakingly obvious, there's a fair amount of subjectivity when it comes to making a list like this, so if you don't see something that you think should be here, just know I considered it and you're wrong. Here's my criteria for judging how good a boss is. 1. Aesthetics. This is physical design, the environment, sound effects, and the music. 2. Story. This is the what, when, where, and why. Next, gameplay. Probably the most important. If it's not fun, why bother? Difficulty. I enjoy difficulty, at least the right kind. If the boss is too easy, cringe. If the boss is too hard, skill issue. This last one is kind of arbitrary, but also extremely important. I'll just call it feeling. That moment right after you beat a boss, what emotions did it leave you with? Alright, enough preamble. Number 10, the third Colossus, from Shadow of the Colossus. With the first 2 Colossus in the game, you kill them, and while you're doing it, you're thinking, something doesn't seem quite right. Why aren't they fighting back? I'm just killing the giant pacifist creatures. Then, you take a swim to a half-sunken circular arena in the middle of a lake, and this guy shows up, and you think, man, am I really about to kill another helpless creature just because God told me to? Is my girlfriend really worth it? What if that voice in the sky is... And you just got turned into paste while you were thinking about it. While it might not be the most visually interesting Colossus, it remains special because it's a turning point in the story where the Colossus start to fight back and you have to use counterplay to defeat them, and your job just got a whole lot harder. Realistically, almost any of the Colossus could be in this spot, because once you start climbing these creatures and that music starts playing... I could be on the toilet right now and it would still be the most epic moment of my life. The only major downside to this fight? Kinda short. Number 9, Red, from Pokemon Heart Gold Soul Silver. First, let me take you on a journey. You're a child who likes gaming in the most boring place on Earth, a bookstore. But this particular bookstore has something you're interested in, a physical guide for that game you've been playing. You pick up your broken at the hinges Nintendo DS, and armed with the Elder Book, you beat the game and do almost everything. But you learn of a secret boss on top of a mountain. When you finally make it there, you're met with the slickest guy, so cool he's incapable of speech. You challenge this mysterious mutant man, and it turns out he's cheating. But you try 5 more times just to make sure his Pikachu one-shotting your entire team wasn't a fluke. You consult the Rosetta Stone for clues, and it turns out he wasn't cheating, you're just underleveled. And you only know how to pick moves that do damage. So you meticulously map out a team and strategy to flawlessly annihilate this wordless womanizer. Eventually, after many more tries, you do away with your tight-lipped layman and bask in glorious victory. I went into this mountain expecting to find a legendary Pokemon, and instead I found a legendary trainer. This game isn't the most balanced, but 1v1ing your own character from the last game you played on top of a mountain while it's hailing with the strongest team you've ever had, that's pretty good. Number 8, The Edge, from Fury. Fury is a game that's just 10 sick boss fights in a row. Most of them consist of running around in these expansive arenas, dodging projectiles as they fly around while you try to kill the person creating them. For the most part, they all play out the same way. Dodge and slowly chip away at their health until you can get in close quarters, deal some serious damage, take away a stock, rinse, repeat. And that works just fine, until you get to the Edge. The Edge already diverts from everything the game has shown you up till now by skipping the initial chasing phase. You start out close to him and have to play very reactionary, otherwise you'll get put on your ass. Then, just when you think you're getting a handle on the fight, he switches it up again by taking away an entire axis of movement. Generally speaking, when elements of something are taken away, they tend to get simpler. With this fight, it becomes less complex, but more difficult. In a 3D space, you can dodge in any direction, but here, there's only forwards and backwards, and one of those directions is a dude that's gonna smack you with his paddle. There's a certain flow state that you enter when engaging with the combat system in this game, and when you get hit, you can lose your rhythm and end up getting hit again and again. For this fight, that's even more true since this is the only time that the combat switches like this, and you gotta learn it quick or die. All of these elements make the Edge the most memorable boss from this largely overlooked masterpiece.
All that awaits you now is the gift of death. The darkness beyond your final days.
Number 7, Rhulk from Destiny 2. We're only 4 bosses in, but if you already thought this list was crap, it probably makes a whole lot more sense now that you've realized that I was a Destiny player. I'm reformed now. Even if I perfectly explained everything that makes this boss awesome, you wouldn't understand most of it if you haven't played Destiny before. So instead, I'll explain it poorly. This is Rhulk. He earned his place as a general on this burnt Dorito by winning a Fortnite Battle Royale against every other member of his species. He has an obsession with shapes and symbols, the designs of which were definitely simple enough that the community was able to come to a conclusion about what the names of all of them were with no trouble whatsoever. His obsession runs so deep that if you try to put everything in the square hole, even if it fits, you die. So, sort them correctly, have some ridiculous APM DPS strats, and while you're at it, don't get kicked. Rhulk does not skip leg day, and you are a squat. The feeling of spending all day with 5 other people struggling through encounters where one lapse in concentration in a 20-minute period means resetting to eventually come together and work as a well-oiled machine and overcome that boss is incredible. It's like Bungie was able to distill a chug-jug supply of dopamine that sets every synapse of your brain on fire. In my years of gaming, there are few things that come close to being able to replicate the highs and lows of a Destiny raid encounter, and this one is the king of them all.
Witness, forgive me!
Holy shit. Holy shit. Holy shit, this guy put me on my ass. Holy shit. Holy. Oh yeah, that got him. He's done. Nope, never mind. Holy shit! Huh? Holy shit. Holy shit! Oh yeah, this'll do it. Yep, for sure. I've seen a lot of dead dragons in my day. That's a dead dragon right there. Uh-oh. Holy shit. Holy shit. Number 5, Beak from Metroid Dread. So for this part, I recorded a whole section where I talked about the lore for like 2 minutes, and then I realized that it was incredibly boring if you don't give a shit about the lore for this franchise. So just note that the story implications heavily impacted this ranking, despite me not really talking about it. Learning that it wasn't Adam that had been guiding you through the whole game and was instead Beak was a cool plot twist that you would have only figured out if you were paying really close attention. In terms of the actual fight, it's amazing and very difficult. You have to use everything that you've acquired throughout the game to defeat him, and each of the 3 phases tests you differently. The first phase is very grounded, focusing on chasing to stick close, but not too close, while rewarding you with well-timed parries. The second phase takes things to the air, and here Beak starts to chase you around and gives you a few, oh, that's how I'm supposed to dodge that, moments. In phase 3, he decides that wings are cringe and it's back to the ground game, but this time he summons the sun. The end of the fight parallels the beginning of the game, but the difference now is that Samus's previously dormant Metroid DNA is fully awakened. Despite being Samus's father in a way, Beak values power above all else, so when he saw the potential in Samus, he orchestrated a way to have her Metroid DNA fully awaken so he could exploit her. But this was short-sighted and ultimately his downfall. Number 4, Genichiro Ashina from Sekiro. For this one, I'm including all versions of this boss because it is technically almost the same fight every time. You fight him at the beginning, middle, and end of the game. At the beginning of the game, you, like Wolf, are a little baby in terms of skill level. You aren't even supposed to win. In your second meeting, you're able to stand toe-to-toe with him, but this is the first true test of skill that gets thrown at you in the game, and it's a real challenge to overcome. The attack chains and combo extensions that he does feel awesome to parry. Parrying lightning only happens a handful of times in the game, and the first happening here feels very appropriate. When you fight him again at the end of the game and do away with him so easily, it's a testament to how much you've grown since your first encounter, and a revelation that he's just a man with a dream who didn't have the skills to realize it. In an update after the game's release, a boss rush was introduced with a few revamped bosses, one being Genichiro. This version throws in just enough mix-ups and new attacks to make the fight fresh while still retaining the feel of the original, one of them being that when you parry his lightning attack back at him, he parries it back at you, playing the deadliest game of hot potato. While he isn't the hardest fight in the game or the one with the most spectacle, he serves as a perfect benchmark for how much your skill improves throughout the game, and I really like that. Number 3, Radiance from Hollow Knight. The final boss of Hollow Knight, only challengeable after defeating the true final boss, Buzzsaws. You hop up there, and for the second time in the entire game, you, the player, decide to challenge this boss on your own terms and think, wait, where are they? Am I going to fight the sun? Yes, you are. The base game version isn't the most difficult. The real challenge comes with Absolute Radiance in the DLC, and this is the version of the boss that I love. They crank up the speed, the presentation is spectacular, the music is amazing, you die in one hit. While you might have to go relatively deep into the lore to completely understand the implications of this fight, once you do, it's incredibly rewarding. Some people will probably think I'm stupid for not putting Pure Vessel or Nightmare King Grim here, but I personally just didn't enjoy them as much as Radiance. The aesthetics are incredible, but I actually prefer regular Grim's boss music if I'm gonna nitpick, which I kind of have to do for a list that's this broad. Completing Absolute Radiance hitless is literally the only thing I have left to do in the entire game, and I've resigned myself to the fact that I will eventually do it when Silksong gets a release date. So I'll probably never do it. Number 2, Ludwig from Bloodborne. Bloodborne was the first From Software game that I played, so my skill when it comes to these types of games was at its lowest during my Bloodborne playthrough. And that might have contributed to the inordinate difficulties I had when fighting this boss for the first time. That, or I was just trying to digest exactly what the hell I was looking at. It's disgusting. Its scream makes the hair on your arms stand on their ends. Its movements are savage and make it seem like it's only capable of shredding things apart. It's a beast, unsightly, grotesque, and then it's not. He used to be a man, but was met with a terrible fate. The fight changes, no longer a hunter fighting a beast, but a hunter fighting a noble knight. He stands on his hind legs now in a dueling position, no longer attacking with claws, instead only using his moonlight greatsword. It completely recontextualizes what you thought you knew about the enemy. He isn't just some beast. He was a human and is still capable of holding on to his ideals even after becoming what he is now. Potentially the most memorable Phase 2 transition of a boss in any game. The fight is super fast, the visuals are immaculate, and he has a hauntingly beautiful boss theme, if you can hear it over the screaming. Number 1, Fatalis from Monster Hunter World. Monster Hunter is a game series full of crazy-looking creatures. Lightning Wolf, Mountain, Super Saiyan Monkey, really big snake, Volcano, Manticore who took the red pill, Manticore who took the blue pill. In a game filled with outrageous but meticulously designed monsters, Fatalis' encounter and design stand out because of their simplicity. With a monster like Alatreon, the penultimate monster, you first have to bring a weapon of the correct element, which rotates. Then you have to meet the elemental damage threshold before his judgment attack to lower the damage output. Then, while he's in dragon mode, you have to break his horn, or he'll rotate through the elements to become immune to your elemental weapon damage, meaning that you can no longer lower the damage of his judgment attack, meaning you die. You get that? Me neither. In contrast, Fatalis is complex only in that he hits hard. Very hard. No special mechanics, no crazy techniques, just you and the king one-on-one in a dance to the death. Well, 1-on-1.5. Almost all the monsters in the game have designs that are rooted in reality. You look at these creatures and see the way that parts of them work and can imagine how those would be helpful in the environments that they supposedly live in. Fatalis is the exception to this rule, his breath being hot enough to melt through anything. What kind of world would force a creature to evolve in a way that they would need fire breath hot enough to melt through anything? A human world. In a world where humans have hunters to hunt monsters, Fatalis is a hunter of humans. The arena in which the fight takes place, the ruined Castle Shrade, is all that remains of an entire nation of people that Fatalis wiped out just because he despised them. It wasn't self-defense or territorialism, it was mass, indiscriminate slaughter. Some monsters divert from natural evolution and become something completely different so they can survive. Fatalis diverted from natural evolution and became something completely different so he could destroy. The fight is one of the most fun in the entire series. It's super punishing in all of the right ways, and the soundtrack makes it feel like you are the hero in the final confrontation with an unstoppable evil. And that's it. That's the list. From Software has probably created enough memorable bosses to take every slot in this top 10, but I wanted to showcase a bit more variety with my list. And it definitely won't change with the release of any new games.